Hello and welcome
Yeah.
back to another episode of Vikings Happy Hour. Tonight, we're going to talk about if we're truly confident in this team, what the Brian O'Neill injury does for them, and who we'd like to face in the playoffs. So go and grab your Lake Monster beer and enjoy the show.
Welcome to Vikings Happy Hour, where we mix our favorite beverage and talk of your Minnesota Vikings. Skol!
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Vikings Happy Hour. It has been a little bit since I've been in this seat, so I want to first and foremost thank Ryan and Miles for holding down the fort this last month, and I'm excited to get into some Vikings conversation. Still, still kind of winning, playoffs right around the corner, lots to talk about. But first, I actually haven't really chatted with either of you, so we'll start with just see how you guys are doing. Ryan, how are you on this evening? How was hosting the last month?
Yeah. Well, went really well the one week that we skipped because I forgot to do prep. So, that was good. But no, it was good. I enjoyed it. It was, thank Jonas for joining us all the way from Germany at like 3 a.m. And obviously Dave, putting up with me in my late of the prep of all that. And of course, Miles last week was great. So, yeah, no, it was good. We missed you, of course, because I'm better in this seat than in your seat, but it all worked out. So
Don't sell yourself short. You did a fine job. Miles, how are you? I'm
I'm
loving
doing pretty
the
good.
loving the hoodie you got there.
Oh man, I love this one. This is my I have two of them now. I love this. I love this one. It's so comfortable. I think it looks good.
It does. It does. I'm kind of jealous. I didn't go for that one because the picture kind of scared me off. But you wear it well. You wear it well.
Yeah, you struggle with style, but that's okay.
Okay, we bought the same one last time.
I'm just playing.
Well, before we get into some Viking conversation, I know obviously we should probably touch on Damar Hamlin in the situation that happened on Monday Night Football. It's a reality check, I think, for a lot of fans and players to really realize how violent this sport is that we talk about, that we enjoy. Um, and obviously, our thoughts and prayers go out to Damar Hamlin and his entire family and himself and his road to recovery. Miles, I know you were checking before the show if there was an update. Did you see anything as of
I haven't.
Wednesday at
Yeah,
8 o'clock?
yeah. Maybe anybody in the chats who's listening could check. I was looking. I didn't see anything new. I just know that we had talked. Sounds like there's an update on he's still on a ventilator, but they're pushing more. He's starting to make progress, and that's what you want to hear, right? Like the thing you kind of mentioned just a minute ago was like these are real people, these are human beings. Like I know it's easy to look at athletes and look at people like celebrities, athletes, anybody that doesn't seem real. They're real people. They're doing things like football is a dangerous sport. It's but also just should show fans and people that how quickly it can be taken away from you and how quickly like something like bad can happen to these players. And it shook me. I know, as a former player, as someone that I've seen some pretty gruesome injuries before. I've never seen anything like this in my life, and I know a lot of players have said the same. But current and former players, and yeah, it's just scary, man. Like you can kind of get over a guy tearing an ACL. Not that it's fun to see, but you can get over it. Like you know that person's going to be okay at the end of the day. Like they're,
Mm-hmm.
but like this one, hearing that they had to do CPR on the field and just like seeing like players like Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen's faces, like that was just it really hits you. And like you really feel like the first thing I thought of was like, where's his parents? Like, where's his family? And to hear that the ambulance like waited for his mom and like that stuff, like you can only imagine what they were going through. Um, so it's scary. It's scary, and like you said, we're thinking and praying for him, and we just want him to be okay. Like it's really hard to think about football when something like this happens, and I'm glad they canceled the game or at least postponed whatever they do with the game. I'm just glad the players haven't had to play or think about playing football the last couple of days. I know that they have to get back to business as usual at some point, but it's also just good that they've taken time to reflect and go be with Damar and his family because of how important this is. It's bigger than football, and I love to see that people are donating to his charity as well. I've been meaning to go
Yeah.
do that. I'll do that at some point, but Dave, I don't know if you have it, and if we could find a way to pull that up, and we don't have to this second either. And I could try to find it and send it to you too, Dave. But his charity, it's a toy drive, I believe. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What
And
were your guys' thoughts and how are you guys doing through it?
Ryan, I'll let you go
Yeah,
first.
yeah. Well, obviously we were watching live, right? And I was watching it actually with my son. So, I told him like, oh, boy, he's hurt, because I did see him, take the hit and then fall down. And, obviously you just assume it's a concussion. You assume it's this, that, or the other things that we're used to seeing. And then when they said they were working on him, which typically means some sort of CPR or something serious, I just sent him away. Like I didn't want him to watch the aftermath of that because of course as scary as the game is it's still a game, and it's still something that we want probably to continue, right? Like we don't want the game to just go away because of an incident like this, and obviously we got to take it seriously. We got to again pray for the family, make sure that he's okay. But at the end of the day, I didn't want my son to be scarred from wanting to play the game again, right? So I sent him away, and that just went through my mind like, wow, we sign our kids up, we sign, we hope that they get this opportunity to be able to, again, like Miles said, put their lives on the line for our entertainment. Like it's kind of silly when you think about it from that perspective. But so yeah, a lot of like deep thought into like, is this all worth it? You know what I mean? Like, is the game
Yeah,
worth it? Put these people's lives on. But again, how often has this happened, right? I mean, I remember when um, reading and seeing, and then like hearing about it a long time ago. Like this happened to a hockey player, Chris Pronger, and I played hockey growing up. And so it was vivid in my mind of this very similar scenario, where it was like a very hard hit to the chest. He got hit by a puck, hit him in the chest, put him in cardiac arrest. I forget the official name of that. It's like colio something or, and anyway, and I remember, I mean, he ended up returning, not that game, but like later that season or maybe even the next season. Made a great 12-year career after that moment. So hopefully this isn't it for Damar. Hopefully he can recover soon, of course, and obviously focus on the recovery and hopefully make a full recovery where his life isn't completely impacted by this from a day-to-day standpoint. Yeah, I mean, just prayers with him.
Yeah, I I agree with kind of everything both of you said. I actually was not watching the game on Monday. Um, I got texts from people, but I was kind of doing some other things, and it was just like oh, are you watching the game? So I didn't really think anything of it. Right? Are you watching the game? Could be anything. Could be a cool touchdown. Could be whatever. It wasn't until later um, that I kind of flipped on ESPN and saw what kind of transpired, and it's scary. Um, Again, Miles, I think to your point, we often forget that these are real people out on the field uh, to provide us entertainment, and there's real risk to what they're doing, and it's kind of sad that we almost become numb to the concussions, to
right.
the other injuries that happen. Right? We just whatever. You see them go off the field, and you just keep watching your entertainment, but these players are living with these effects, so on and so forth. I mean, obviously, the Tua situation this season has been really scary as well, right? That's a guy who's had a lot of concussions, and it's getting some attention as it should. But I think it's just a good reality check for fans, for players, for everybody, that these are real people. And obviously with Damar Hamlin, I hope that, he can make a full recovery. This is probably the scariest thing that we've seen since Ryan Shazier, I would say.
Yeah, that's a good
Back,
one. Yeah.
and that was terrifying watching that as a kid. So,
Well,
kid, I was
and another
8
thing
years
to go
ago.
along to your point real quick, Matt, is like, yeah, so like maybe let's think it twice, right? Whenever, I mean, I did it this weekend when TJ Hawkinson drops a pass, right? Because
Yep.
he's about to get blown up and he's worrying about, okay, I need to secure this pass and I'm about to get my head taken off, right? Or next time your fantasy player puts up a dud and you're cursing him out, right? Like, again, I get it, it's money on the line and all this, that, and the other. But at that, that's your choice to be able to, play fantasy football. Like, and of course, it's their choice to play football in general. But they're doing us a great service by providing some amazing entertainment. So let's maybe be a little bit more empathetic to, the day in and day out situations that they're going through.
Right.
Yeah, there's a reason that these players will respond on Twitter saying they don't give a shit about your fantasy team. It's because yeah, case in point. So,
Yeah.
before we close on that topic, is there anything else either of you two would like to add? Or, I mean, there's no
Yeah,
easy transition
one
into
last
the
thing.
rest of it.
Yeah, one quick last thing is just again kudos. I'm sure everyone's said this as well at some point, but kudos to the crew at ESPN for putting on a very tough task of navigating through that whole scenario. From Troy and Buck to Scott Van Pelt and Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark was fantastic. Booger was fantastic. And the whole crew, right? And all the on-site reporters, they all did great. My only gripe, and I did tweet about this, is, hopefully next time they can, obviously, in real time when it's happening, I didn't think much of it, but as I kept watching that program and waiting for the updates and stuff, they just kept showing the players
Yeah.
as they reacted to the scenario. And I'm sitting here like, guys, we're literally broadcasting their like very intense trauma on national TV, like over and over and over again. And again, like at first you're like, oh, you feel for him, but then like as it kind of went on, I'm just like, guys, why do I don't need to see Tre'Davious White like freaking out because he's
Yeah.
so scared for his really good friend, or again Stephon Diggs with the tears coming down, Josh Allen, all of these guys, especially those DBs. I mean, you can tell that they were like traumatized by what was happening,
Yeah.
and they just
That's
kept
a brother.
showing
It's a
them.
brother. Yeah, it's a brotherhood,
Yeah,
man. Like
exactly, 100%.
you love the players, you love the people you play with, and I can tell you, some of my best friends in the world are players, are guys I played with in college. Like it, you do anything for those people, and you see a brother like that, go down, and you're not just injured, but like fearing for his life. Like it's like you said, traumatizing, right? And I think to your point, there was a certain point when ESPN needed to stop showing the players and doing something different with that. And I obviously, I think it was a tough situation for everyone because this is unprecedented. So it's not one of those situations where I think ESPN was doing it because they didn't know what else to do, and they didn't know what the updates were going to be, and hoping positivity, and also they had to assume that the game might be coming back, and like those types of things. It's stuff that they shouldn't have had to worry about, but as their job, and as like it was unfortunate, but like that, everybody had a job to do, and it was, so a lot of people were put into really shitty situations on Monday night, and so they were
Really
trying to
tough.
figure out, yeah, like what do we do? And I think, yeah, so I agree with you, Ryan. It's just I try to give people grace in with what
Oh,
happened on Monday
100%.
to a degree. Like there are some things that people take too far and those things, but I think most people had good intentions.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I said, it was just I think after like the sixth or seventh time of watching
Yeah.
Tre'Davious White lose his stuff, I'm like, yeah, this like we can just like can we just like keep going back to the still shot of them like in the circle praying or things like that or even like yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer was. It was all in real time. It was fluid, so I get it.
Yep.
But anyway, that was the last thing I wanted to mention. So
No, I mean, I think it's a good conversation to have. We sit here every week and talk about the NFL, and it'd be ignorant of us to not, you know, talk about this topic. So there is no easy transition to move from Damar Hamlin into to Vikings uh, conversation, but we're going to try our best here. So obviously, the Vikings this past week uh, played Green Bay and they got blown out. And so I kind of posed the question for you guys. And before I pose the question, thank you to everybody in the chat here tonight. Keep the comments
Yeah.
flowing. If you have questions, throw them on in. We appreciate it. But um, I pose the question to you guys is how confident are you in this Vikings team? Obviously, we have a playoff berth secured. We're hosting at least one playoff game at US Bank Stadium. Opponent is to be determined, and we'll talk about that later in the show. But their wins have been close, and their losses have been devastating, right? Like just completely blown out. And so I don't know what's your confidence level with this team as we head into week 18 and eventually hosting the NFL wildcard round playoffs at US Bank Stadium.
yeah, I'm still confident in this team. Like, of course, seeing those blowout losses are no fun. How we respond to those blowout losses is important, and I think we've done pretty well at that thus far this year. Um, what I will say is like yeah, there is cause to be of concern, which I don't think is new. Like I just because we got blown out in Green Bay does not like change my mind as to how I felt about going in the playoffs. Our defense is suspect at best, right? And our and the I guess Miles, I see you kind of shaking your head. The only cause for concern that came out of Green Bay is now that our offensive line is kind of in shambles, right? I mean, we lost a top five right tackle in the league. We've lost him. Now I do have confidence in Oli Udo. I think he is a better tackle than guard. So I know a lot of people are very discouraged because the last time they saw Oli Udo play was not great at right guard. But as tackle, he's always been pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. Again, a serviceable backup, right? That can work in a pinch. As I said pre-show, unfortunately, it's the most important pinch of the year that he's about to step into. So hopefully that he can hold up. But outside of that, I mean, I was always going to be concerned about this defense and can our offense continue to play relatively consistent that like they have all year in terms of putting up points. Now, granted, in a game they're not very consistent, right? We have a really good quarter and then we fall off the face of the earth for a quarter and a half, and then all of a sudden we need to kick it in gear and go. So can we even that out to a full game of quality offensive football? No three and outs, all of that. Can we do it? I do believe we can, as long as Oli Udo, and then hopefully we get Garrett Bradbury back, which I don't think I ever thought I'd ever say that in my life over the last 3 years. But hopefully we get Garrett Bradbury back, and yeah, and I think that we can go and I don't know exactly who we're going to play yet. The likelihood is the New York Giants, and I think we can beat them. I think we had that game well in hand. Obviously, we let them come back, but we had that game in hand, and I believe that we can continue to do that again, and hopefully really close them out, and then we'll have a look at San Francisco or whoever they play, like the Packers or the Lions or the Seahawks at that point. So we'll see. But I am confident we can win one game, and then let's see where it goes from there.
Miles, are you confident? I remember at one point in this season you were almost giddy about this team. Has that kind of
Well,
gone away?
well, they beat the way they beat that Bills game. I think I tweeted out. I said I'm in because that Bills game and like just how they were winning was it was ridiculous, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, but so I'll always say this. I've always had my reservations on this season. Now, they've exceeded my expectations. I'm not gonna lie about that. But there's still always been a reservation in my mind that this team really that good? And my concern has always been the way that they're winning football games is not sustainable in the playoffs. And you can't play that way against really good football teams consistently. Like you can't and expect to win. And we've seen it. Like I don't even like to look at the especially the Cowboys and Packers game as like the like expectation for the playoffs. I don't think that's the expectation. But I look at like the Bills game is a good example of that. Like the Bills let them off the hook more than anything. And I know that they allowed that they like willed themselves back in that game, but most of the time the Bills would have put them away. And so they can't keep putting themselves in. Ryan, you kind of touched on it. They can't keep putting themselves into situations where they have to come back or they have to make a huge play in the late in the fourth quarter just to make the game so that they can win the game. Or like they can't. It's not sustainable. Like I know they've been unprecedentedly like sustainable throughout the season. It's like historically unprecedented, right? And so I just don't think the way that they've been playing this season on both sides of the ball consistently, quarter to quarter, game in and game out, they can win consistently in the playoffs with that model. Now that doesn't mean that they can't string things together and play more cohesive, consistent football in the playoffs. But I do have my reservations that against these good football teams as we get into January into the playoffs that their luck's going to run out. Like the Vikings just blocked it. They blocked the first drive of the game. They blocked the punt, had the ball on the 2-yard line against Green Bay. You can't settle for field goals there. You can't. Like you can't do that in the playoffs. You can't do that against good football teams. And like those types of things, you can't like those margins for error are razor thin for this team because of the things that they have. And Justin Jefferson's been your like everything of your offense. And if a team can even slow him down, they might not even shut him down, but slow him down, the offense usually is in trouble. And so having guys like TJ Hawkinson, we need Dalvin Cook. That whole situation right now has been rough the last few weeks. You need TJ Hawkinson to play well, KJ Osborne, Adam Thielen. Like those guys need to get open like a little bit more consistently than what we've seen because they need to help JJ out because there's going to be so much attention on JJ and the Packers might have shown a little bit more of the blueprint of like how to handle that. No, not many teams have a level of cornerback like Jair Alexander to bump and run a JJ, but that doesn't mean that they can't cloud cover him and bump and run and have safety coverage over the top just to help slow him down. So yeah, you're just going to need hero ball from this team going into the playoffs, and it sucks, but that's kind of just where they're at.
Do you think that there is a chance that maybe the Vikings are holding something to themselves that they haven't quite revealed to the rest of the league? I know it sounds crazy sitting here in week 18, but do you think O'Connell has something up his sleeve for the playoffs? Or maybe they just play a little bit more aggressively.
Up his sleeve, like that's the hard part, is right. Like they're going to implement new game plans, so we might see some new wrinkles that we've never seen. But no, there isn't like this like remedy and potion that Kevin O'Connell is going to sprinkle on the team out of nowhere. Like that's going to change a lot of that. But there's things that they can implement, and like you said, like O'Connell's been aggressive on fourth downs and like on like drives and wanting to extend drives. It's not that I'm not bitching about the like aggressiveness. I think O'Connell's been pretty aggressive. I just think it's timing. You should never kick a 25-yard field goal. You should never kick a 21-yard field like those inside the 5-yard line. Essentially, you shouldn't kick those field goals. It's just I just if you're not going to score the touchdown, at least you're giving your defense a long field. Like I don't know. It's small things like that I think I'd like a little bit of O'Connell to say, oh, screw that. And I know Chris Reed had just come into the game, so I know that probably factored, but I just don't like.
And then when he comes into the game, why are you running right at his position?
Right.
Like
Exactly.
It was a very goofy sequence that seemed very un-O'Connell than we've ever seen. It was really weird.
Oh, can we real quick? Can we touch on one thing that I've been saying this since Kirk Cousins became a Minnesota Viking. I've not critiqued Kirk Cousins this year the way that other people have because they've been winning and I just want to win, right? And I think Kirk Cousins has played to the system. Um, that man has the authority to call a fucking timeout. I don't. I. It drives me nuts to watch him, especially on Sunday. But like we've seen it in the past, where if the players aren't lined up, if the clock's running down and you need to ball snapped and the ball's not snapping, call a timeout. Like you don't always need your coach to be the one to call a timeout for you. Call a timeout if you have to, especially in key situations like third downs, even like second and mediums. You don't want to get into second and longs, third and longs. Like there are key situations, especially in the first half. I'll say too. Like I want to make sure that's reiterated. Like especially in the first half, those timeouts, like you don't bring them with you in the second half. So yes, you want to save them for as long as you can. But if you need to take a timeout to reset, like please, like I know he has the authority to do it. I don't care
Yeah,
what he says. I know he has the authority to call a timeout if he had to.
he absolutely does, and I think that's a good point you bring up because I'm pretty sure Rodgers did it in the first quarter or very early
Yeah,
on in that game for the Packers, where he either was going to get a delay a game or something was going on, but he just said, you know what, let's just take this time out. Can't carry it with us, like you said, and let's just get recollected, and you know, and I also agree with you too on the fourth down aggression stuff. There have been moments where it's like 4th and 2 and we're taking deep shots where I kind of question it. Um,
yeah.
but for the most part, even like the fake punt a few weeks ago, I wasn't mad at that. I think the execution was poor, but I liked the surprise, fake punt pass kind of deal that Kevin
I
O'Connell had
I
up his
hated it.
sleeve there. So
I
did
hated it.
you? What
I
I
don't.
hated was the CJ Ham. I forget what the play call was. Was it CJ Ham on like a jet sweep or something like that?
Yeah. There's something
Yeah,
like that. What I
but
didn't like about the fake punt. Well, we don't have to dive too much into this. What I didn't like about the fake punt is they were in a situation to like go for it with the offense, and I'd rather trust my offense to go for it than trust a punter to throw the football and get a
yeah.
completion. And so, like if you just want to go for it, just go for it. You're not really catching people
Right.
off guard because if you're the only way you're catching somebody off guard in that, like if you're running, like I'll even give them like the dive, like the fake with the halfback, up back, the personal protector they call it, with the rush. I'll take that a little bit just because there's a little bit more variance there. But trusting a punter to throw the football, like I don't know, I just
Hey,
you're asking for
that's
you're asking for
that's
trouble.
former high school star quarterback Ryan Wright you're talking about. So
Yeah,
you
you're right.
shut your mouth there, Miles.
And honestly, it
Well,
really
and you,
wasn't that bad of a throw. Naylor kind of just let it go through his hands, to be honest. It was a little high, but like Naylor definitely could have
yeah,
caught that ball. But
I
it
know.
is what it is. It is.
But like,
I
and
agree with you, Miles. I was like,
Kirk, yeah.
why don't you have Kirk Cousins throw that ball, right? Like,
Well,
and
and
Justin
and
Jefferson
there's
tried
another
to catch that ball.
and there's another rule that you can't. There's no PI in those situations. So, and on fake punts, there's no PI. So you can get mugged. The receiver can get mugged. Like there's no PI in those situations because it's a punt. So I don't know.
I see some
Yeah,
Kevin
one thing.
O'Connell slander in the comments, by the way.
Well, I was gonna say I was
I
gonna go to the comments here quick, and we were getting kind of called out by Warren. I made a comment about Oli Udo not being a great guard. He said he didn't let up any sacks last year, so I had to go pull up PFF. He did allow one sack last year, which is actually not bad for a right guard, especially for the Minnesota Vikings. But he did
sacks are a
lead the
QB
league
stat.
in. Yeah, that's very true as well. He did lead the league in penalties with 16, and he allowed 45
Oh,
pressures.
love
So
that.
those aren't great. But on a flip side, I want to be a little bit more positive here. Is in 2019, he had a 79.7 pass blocking grade as a right tackle when he in his 31 snaps. This year, in his 61 snaps, he at right and left tackle, overall of 73.4 grade with a 71.4 pass blocking, 70.7 run blocking. So overall
Yeah,
at
I mean,
tackle in his career, he's actually been a pretty good pass protector, and he at tackle, and he's been a very serviceable tackle. So I'm not like, again, would I rather have Brian O'Neill? Absolutely, but like that new like actually I'm more worried about the center position right now. Like I
yeah,
don't trust
I think
Chris
that's
Reed at
fair.
this point because the limited exposure we have is not great. Schlottmann's gone, and we don't know what Bradbury's going to do with that back. So I really hope we get that figured out, and we can shore up the line at least a little bit enough for us to make this title run. So
The offensive line talk is a good transition into just the absence of Brian O'Neill. Obviously, today it was announced that they put him on IR yesterday, Tuesday, but today it was announced that he partially tore his Achilles. So, like, any thought of maybe him coming back, it's gone. He's done. He's not coming
Yeah.
with us to wherever we end this season, whether it's week one of wild card round or the Super Bowl. Brian O'Neill will not be playing for the Vikings. So they went out and they made a couple moves. They obviously signed the center. I forget his name. You guys had it earlier.
Greg
Who
Mance.
was Greg Mance, and they signed right tackle, who I thought was Bobby Massey. I'm being told it's not. It's
Bobby
it's
Evans.
uh it's Bobby Evans,
I
who
mean,
played for the Rams. So a familiarity there too with Kevin O'Connell, right?
Yeah, he's on the
Um,
practice squad too, so it's not like I don't think he's going to get called up or anything, but I think it's just depth
yeah,
in case you need somebody in a pinch.
yep, yeah. So I guess my question again to you guys is, in Ryan, you've sort of touched on this with the Oli Udo thing, but I mean, we're heading into the most crucial time of the season, and we're missing one of the biggest pieces on our offensive line, arguably the most stable piece on our offensive line for the better part of
Hmm
4 years now. So, what do the Vikings do? How do we go into the playoffs and attempt to you can't replace it, but just you know get by without Brian O'Neill?
Honestly, like the right side of the line is going to struggle because Ed Ingram struggled all season. You hope there's progress there, and I think there's been some progression there. But overall, he had Brian O'Neill at his right, so that helped him a lot. That's probably more of my worry, like the center right guard situation, and the tackle situation is probably more of a worry for me than that. But I think I don't know exactly where Irv Smith's at in his like recovery. I know that they've opened the window for him to come back, but with him coming back potentially, and maybe he'll be ready by the playoff game, I think they need to implement more two tight end system, and be a little bit more heavy because those guys, him and TJ Hawkinson as a duo at tight end, that's pretty dangerous. And I
Yeah,
know Irv didn't really play up to his potential and all that stuff, but I still think that they can help out the right side of that line a little bit. CJ Ham can help in those situations a little bit if they want to, go a little bit heavier formations, but those guys can catch the football too. And I think that's the part that you kind of need to revamp the offense a little bit. But I think it's important, and I think it might maybe, especially maybe at the first game, you might catch some teams off guard because they haven't seen it that much on tape, and so
hmm.
you're still going
Oh,
to
so
have
Kevin
guys like
O'Connell does have something up his sleeve.
I don't know, but I know he's got stuff in his
Just
his
giving you
back
shit,
pocket,
man.
right? But you're guys like JJ, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne are going to see a lot of snaps no matter what.
Yep.
So, but I think if you can find ways to maybe have a heavier personnel, that might even open things up for JJ because
Yeah.
they won't be able to bring as much attention to him because if you're, they'll have more linebackers in the game because of the run game, like that type of stuff. Like there's little things that maybe they can get away with. Not every drive, every play, but a little bit more often than what they've been doing,
I actually
and more
think
more boot and more boots in play action too. Sorry.
yeah, I know you mentioned it. Aaron mentioned it. Obviously, the two tight end sets with Irv coming back. I think this is a really good opportunity for Adam Thielen to kind of step up a little bit. I know he's been getting open. That's not the issue. He's just typically one of the final reads on a play, and for whatever reason that is. But this could be a good opportunity for him if you're leaving Hawkinson in line to help block or Irv or whatever the case may be for Thielen to you know, step up in the playoffs here. So Ryan, how about you? How are you feeling about Brian O'Neill's injury? How are you, what are you thinking for the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have confidence in Udo at right tackle. I don't think he's a bad right tackle. So if he can come in and just be serviceable, we don't need him to be great. We just need him to be serviceable, and I think he can do that. And then like Miles said, yeah, more two tight end sets, whether it's Irv or not. I mean, actually, if anything, if we are bringing in a tight end to help block a little bit, and then go out for a small little option route or a little pass route over the middle or to the edge, Munt can do that, right? I mean, that is his job on this offense, is a decent pass blocker, and then could just go catch a dump off, right, or be a check down. So I think either way, whether Irv's back or not, I think that's going to work just fine. I'd rather that and then sending Irv out on these pass routes and keeping Hawkinson in to block, because Hawkinson's a better threat downfield. So I'd much rather, I mean, granted, Irv has the potential, but he just hasn't shown us that he can do it consistently, unlike TJ has. So I think we're going to probably see that a little bit more. Yeah, like Miles said, that play action in the boot, get Kirk Cousins moving. That's going to be very, oh, look at that. What's up, buddy?
He's supposed to be in bed, but he will not go to bed. So
that'll happen.
I can't blame him. I don't want to go to bed either.
Oh, he's on his way to bed. Okay.
Oh, there you go. Saying goodnight to Dad.
On the way.
That's awesome.
All right, buddy.
Hey. But yeah, so I mean, I think there's going to be ways for us to kind of counteract that. Now, again, where I'm more concerned is up the middle if we can't get Bradbury back, just because of the fact that, there are going to be some really good defensive tackles that we're going to have to go up against in the playoffs, whether it's Philly, whether it's the Packers, whether it's the Lions. If they make it, they have some really good defensive tackles, and the Giants. I mean, they have Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, right? Like, so there's going to be there's definitely going to be some challenges that are going to come with that up the middle. But if we can get Bradbury back, which again, that's traditionally been what he's always struggled against, but for whatever reason, those three have done okay this year against those D tackles. So we can hopefully continue that and win there. Yeah, outside of that, let's just get healthy. And again, hopefully Brian O'Neill's not out long term. When I say long term, I mean like into next season. Let's hopefully partially torn Achilles, hopefully has a quicker return than a fully torn.
Hey guys, I got to jump. I'm sorry.
That's fine. No, that's fine. We'll chat later.
All right, guys. Yep. Say bye, bud.
Dave, speaking of the Vikings offensive line, we're losing Miles. We need Dave to step in to the starting lineup here. Dave, can you throw yourself on screen for the remainder of this show?
Maybe.
And I think this is good conversation actually to have you, Dave, because it's the offensive line. It's your favorite unit on the field. And so I'm sure you'll talk about it on your show Saturday, but before we jump into our final topic this evening, what are your thoughts on, the Brian O'Neill injury and Oli Udoh probably replacing him, maybe Blake Brandel if he comes back? Yeah.
Hold on a second. I work this.
Fine.
All right, there we go. I got this set up.
Matt, it's actually probably a real good time while Dave gets situated back on screen. Thank you to our sponsors. That's Badass, Wood Art, and Lake Monster Brewing. Again, you got to check out That's Badass Wood Arts. They have an Instagram. They got a Twitter. They post all their stuff. Go to their website. There's so much fun content, whether it's sports, whether it's movies, whether it's pop culture stuff. They got a little bit of everything over there. Make sure you check that out. It's great stuff. And then, of course, as always, Lake Monster Brewing, fantastic beer over in St. Paul. They always have fun food trucks. I follow Brick Oven Bus Pizza. It's like a traveling, pizza bus, and they're always over at Lake Monster. Some of the best pizza out there. So they attract some of the best food trucks around the Twin Cities over there. So get a beer, get some grub, enjoy the atmosphere. It's really good over there. So
Yeah, good call out for the sponsors there, and also back to the to Badass Wood Art. Remember that if you use promo code CT Pocket, you'll receive 20% off any one item at That's Badass Wood Art. And he makes custom pieces, man. It's not. I mean, I've kind of fallen behind here. I haven't reached out to secure a piece, and I need to. Um, but it's great. It's great. I know the holidays
So
just
he does like
ended, but you,
family portrait ones, right? Like you can
yeah,
like give him a picture of your family and he'll make it into it. I mean, it's pretty incredible what he does over there.
it's fantastic. Any luck with the camera there, Dave? Otherwise, we can just switch it to the next topic.
No, we're set up.
I don't see you on our side.
No, here we go.
No.
You will now.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
There it is. There it is. All right, Dave, give us your quick thoughts here on Brian O'Neill.
It came out today, as we've all heard. It's a partially torn Achilles. Thankfully, it's not a completely torn Achilles, because a completely torn Achilles takes a year to heal up. Partially torn, they both require surgery. It's a surgery that grabs the upper part of the tendon, pulls it down to the lower part, and it keeps it in place. And there's so little blood flow there. That's why it takes so long to heal. And there's not much in the tendons. That's why it takes so long to heal. But a partially one, coach was hoping that he's ready by the beginning of next season. Let's hope that's the case and that it does not affect him. We all know that big linemen, when they pop their Achilles, it tends to affect their play later as they go on in their careers, because it is so important the way a lineman uses his feet and his ankles to plant, to exert force off the turf. Those have to be strong. And so being partially torn is the best news we could get versus being completely torn. And that's what I know a lot of people were worried about. He also said there is still a calf muscle injury, but muscle injuries heal. Not worried about that. It's that Achilles is the big deal, but he will be back next year, and hopefully there'll be no degradation whatsoever on it.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so. Final topic to kind of round out the show. I know we've touched on it briefly. I think 2-3 weeks ago, maybe it was the last show I was on here, but want to talk to you guys quick and just get your thoughts on ideal playoff matchups as we head into the first round. Obviously, it's either the second or the third seed, so we're likely playing either the Giants or one of the three: Seahawks, Packers, or Lions. Of those teams, Ryan, I'll deal with you. Do you have a preference on which of those teams that you'd like to face? I mean, they're coming here no matter what. So, and we haven't played the Seahawks yet this season. So, we're missing out on that because typically we play them, feels like every year for the past decade. But what are your thoughts on playoff matchups?
I mean, honestly, obviously it all depends on who ends up being that seventh seed, right? Like, am I afraid of the Packers? Not necessarily. I know we just got our butts whoops, but like I think we could play them, especially at home. I think we could play them well. Am I afraid of the Lions? Not necessarily, but again, they're a hard team to play every year, and they beat us once this year, or not every year, but this year, and I guess last year too. And the Seahawks, again, I don't really know what to think of them. I don't think their defense is overly great, but they do have some good corners. So, I mean, Jefferson versus Tariq Woolen would have been an interesting matchup. And Geno Smith, I mean, I don't know, he's figuring it out this year. So honestly, I think we are probably in the best position right now to be in that 3 seed. Now, obviously, you'd rather have the 2 seed because you get a home playoff game in the second game as well if you were able to win that first matchup. But going into being the 3 seed, you get the Giants. And honestly, I think that's the best matchup for us. I think I'm not overly scared of their quarterback because he's a little bit erratic. He's played a lot better this year. I'll give him a lot of credit. But without the elite weapons, I mean, he's throwing to Isaiah Hodgins and Richie James and and Darius Slayton, right? Like it's not like elite playmakers on that other side, which will help when it comes to us having to defend a team like that. Of course, they got Saquon Barkley, one of the best running backs in the league, but luckily the strength of our team is our run defense. And then on defense, yes, they have a very good defensive line, which gives me concern given our offensive line woes right now. But, again, we can scheme around that quick pass game. You got Jefferson. I don't think anyone there can guard him one-on-one or even with safety help like Jaire Alexander did. And then, of course, we played well. I think wasn't that the game that – no, that was who went off that game? Hawkinson went off that game, right? So
and Jefferson.
And Jefferson, yeah. So, you definitely have the opportunity. Now, ideally, you'd love to play a team you haven't played yet because they don't have like specific tape on you with their guys. So that's where the Seahawks would be nice, but it's unlikely they make the playoffs anyway because they have to win and the Packers have to lose. So, we'll see. But I like that matchup with the Giants, and then just hope that whoever comes out of that 7th seed can buck the Niners. And then we get a home playoff game again that I get to go to, and it'll be one of those 3 teams anyway. And one of those 3 teams that I'm not scared of because I am scared of the Niners. Even though they have Brock Purdy, that defense is insane. And but hey, you know what? Jarrett Stidham just lit that defense up. So who knows? Who knows?
It's the NFL, man. I mean, any given Sunday, right? That's why they say it. I think I feel the same way as you do. I think the Giants are probably the most ideal. Not fond of playing my division rivals in the playoffs. Obviously, there's familiarity there, but if I could avoid it, I would avoid it. And with the Seahawks as well, I think it would be fun to see them, but I don't know. I feel like they're kind of playing with house money, and it's probably not a team you want to face in the playoffs. It's Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll might get a little weird with, how aggressive he wants to be, considering he's probably has a top 3 pick in the NFL draft. Like, obviously they're going to try to play to win and maybe be a little bit more aggressive than other teams. So I think the Giants is a good team for us to face. Dave, you look like you had a comment there.
Yeah.
You kind of leaned into
explain
the
to me how the Giants cannot be the 6th seed.
How they can't be the 6th seed?
What?
They are
the 3 seeds going to play the 6th seed.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to play the Giants. How can the Giants not be the 6th seed?
Well, I'm just saying if for some reason we move to the 2nd seed this weekend,
that would be the only way we don't play the Giants.
Yeah, exactly. Like if the Niners somehow lose to the Cardinals and we beat the Bears because they're playing Nate Peterman, right?
That would be the only way. The Giants cannot drop down.
Yeah. Yep. It's
correct.
Almost assuredly going to be the Giants.
No, well, that we play because it's mostly assuredly that we're going to face the 3rd seed because San Francisco is going to blow the doors off the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are going to have Kingsbury fired by the time he gets to the locker room type deal.
Which is this what Matt was talking about earlier when he said, does KOC have a little trick up his sleeve? Maybe it was that we got blown out on purpose so we have an opportunity to play the Giants and not the Lions or the Seahawks.
Just insert that GIF where
I guarantee that's not the case.
Maybe he's playing the end game here like Doctor Strange.
No.
You never know. You never know.
No, you saw Justin Jefferson's reaction last week. That's not the case. Those guys were playing.
Well,
now if we do finish the 2nd seed, that'll be something. And that'll be an epic fail by San Francisco, and I will give Niners sickness grief, until we meet them in the playoffs. But
I think the craziest thing about all of the playoff scenarios that are going on is the fact that there is a world where the Cowboys can take the 1st seed and the Eagles would drop to 5, which blows my mind. The Eagles all season have just been like, yep, 1 seed, 1 seed, 1 seed. and they're within a game. Granted, Jalen Hurts has been out, but they're within a game of being removed from that and dropping all the way to the 5th seed and not even having a home playoff game. That's a game changer,
But
and honestly, that's one scenario I'm rooting for because I do not want to go to Philly. You put me, I'll go to any other NFC team, but Philly, maybe I'm just scarred from,
I
however
guess
many
I
years ago.
agree
But
because I'd rather play indoors, right? Like even if the
hmm
Cowboys are the 1 seed, I'd rather play indoors with the Cowboys than in
yeah,
Philly in that weather. Um,
That would be an
but either
interesting
way, those two
conundrum.
teams are going to face each other in the second round, like because one of them's going to get a bye, and there's no way one of those teams loses to the. Well, I mean, I guess the Cowboys did early in the season;
it's
they did
playoffs,
lose to
man.
the Tampa Bay. So,
Anything
I mean,
will be
when you
possible.
got Tom Brady on the other side, you just never know. It's that guy's insane.
Um, that's all I have for tonight's show. Um, I, we can. Do you guys want to do a prediction for Sunday's game? I mean, I don't really know if
We
there's
win.
going to be anything. You,
My only prediction: we finally get our first win. That's not well. I guess our second win. That's
Second.
not a one score win. Our second
Yeah,
win. That's not a one
bookends.
score win. There you go.
okay, so but we got wins across the board here, huh?
I mean, without them playing Justin Fields, they're not playing for anything.
They're playing for the number 1 draft choice. They're going to do everything within their power to lose.
Yeah. Well, let them. I'll take the win. Anyway, thank you to everybody tonight in the comments. Really appreciate. I mean, there was a lot of conversation going back and forth, so I really appreciate that. Make sure you come back next week as we get ready for Vikings playoff football. It's been a while since we've had an opportunity to talk about the playoffs, and we're going to be hyped, and it's going to be a fun show. I'm working on trying to get a media guest on to chat about it, so stay tuned for news on that. But yeah, otherwise, Ryan, thank you for joining again tonight. And Dave, you can update the crew on what's next.
What's next is normally on Thursday nights we have Viking hot takes with the great and wonderful Flip Mozzie and Eric Thompson of Daily Norseman. However, Flip notified me this morning that a work project came up. He cannot make it. He has to get this in on deadline. We've all been there. We know how that goes. So there will be no Viking hot takes tomorrow night. Sorry, folks. I wish there was, but there is not.
Shucks.
So that just means myself and Darren Campbell, your 2 old bloggers, will be here on Saturday to break down this game as much as we can, plus 2 other topics, which I'm sure will be interesting. I'm sure one of them will be offensive line because that's my specialty. And do I think that this line, as composed with Oli Udo on the right and Chris Reed, supposedly making progresses today in practice, can actually step up and do enough for us to win football games in the playoffs?
Dang, that sounds like a fun show.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
It is what it is.
Wait, before we Skol Vikings here, would I have a commitment from you too? I'll do it as well, but I'm just curious. Can you imitate the playoffs like from Jim Mora back in the day? Can you imitate that? Like if someone put a mic in your face and said, "Hey, imitate this," you guys want to do it? I'm just curious because I have a vision in my mind what it would sound like from you guys, and I want to see what it's like. I'll do it too. So
Playoffs.
okay, okay.
Playoffs.
That's better.
That's actually really good.
That's a lot better.
What if I just didn't do it? I'll do it. Playoffs. Mine's not as good. I don't have. Ryan's got the nice little
at that
high
beginning
voice there
of the
at
play.
the end. Yeah.
You got that. I have a deep voice naturally, but you got to get that high. That's my singer in me. I'm not a singer. I can't.
Speaking of singer, Matt,
Oh yeah, that's somebody who can sing.
Well,
When are we getting our
Yeah,
next song?
don't even. Hey, if you're listening to this show, you go check out Matt Anderson on Instagram. He has got. I mean, he's got a
got a
guitar.
set of
He's
pipes.
got a voice, and it is beautiful music. It is beautiful.
I should
music.
whip that thing out again. It's been a little bit since I've
I
played.
always enjoy it.
Things have
You
gotten
got a-
busy.
You've
so.
got a song to write about Vikings Happy Hour.
Eventually, man, I can sing it, Dave, but you're gonna have me put chords together. I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see. But anyway, what do we say here, guys? You gonna
Skol
ghost me?
Vikings.
Skol Vikings!
There.
And it's not doing anything. Preview mode. Why is it in
Perfect.
preview mode? There we go. Subscribe and ring the bell, and feel free to rate us on your favorite aggregator. A big shout out goes to our partners, the Daily Norseman, where the best Vikings content can be found. To That's Badass Wood Art, when you're looking for something unique to brighten your space. And to Lake Monster Brewing, home of the best beer in Minnesota. Skol, everybody!